In this video, I'm working on a series of monotypes. I roll out oil-based printing ink onto a smooth plastic sheet. I place high-quality paper onto the plastic and print using an etching press. It works like a mangle. The ink transfers to the paper. With Monotype, there's no repeatable block, so you just get one print, as unique as a painting. This time I use a blended roll, which is a particularly good method for skies. This will be the first of several layers of ink. I wipe away some ink with a cloth to create white clouds. I print onto a fresh sheet of paper. I'll have several prints on the go at any one time to allow for drying time. Here I'm tearing a stencil to use in the printing process. Sometimes I use dabbers to blend the colours together. This will be the second layer of colour for this image. I wipe away some of the ink. With the stencil in position, I print again, carefully matching the same position. You can see that the stencil gives a crisp edge for the landscape. I prepare a third, darker layer of ink for this one. Wherever I wipe away ink, you'll see the previous layers showing through when it's printed. I add more textures and marks using a variety of simple materials: a piece of card, a brush with solvent, textured materials that I roll with ink, and a stick to add details. Once more I print the paper with the same stencil. You can see how all that mark making gives a rich, textured surface. When the stencil is removed, the crisp horizon stands out. The final stage for this image is the addition of a lone tree. After rolling out a little dark ink, I draw on the back of the paper with a biro. Some of the ink transfers to the paper to create soft lines. I go through a similar process with the next image, this time working with red ochre and grey. What I really love about this method are the luminous colour contrasts I can achieve. I want this third layer to be as rich and varied as possible, suggested of agricultural marks, but also of geology. Mostly, I'm having a great time pattern making. It takes a long time to create this depth of colour and detail. I worked on these 6 pictures over about a month, but for your sake I've edited down to the most interesting highlights. I add a row of trees to the skyline using the trace method. The trees really bring the landscape to life and visually connect the land and sky areas. This is the first layer for a bluebell woodland. It follows a similar method to the others in the series. These blues, pinks and golds will be the brighter colour highlights in the forest floor. I carefully match up to the previous layers. The textures this time go horizontally and are suggestive of flowers and grasses. I plan the way the colours will interact when they're overprinted to get lively combinations. Once more through the press. I'm doing the trace method now to suggest a few distant trees. The stencil protects the rest of the image. Now I'm dabbing out a range of browns for the larger trees. The varied tones portray the way the light radiates. This time I use a paper stencil to make solid tree trunks. Careful now, I don't want the paper to move and blot the ink. It's very satisfying when the stencil prints well. When the ink is dry, I roll over translucent colours through another stencil to create shadows. I prefer not to use the press for this, as I can make more subtle judgments about how much ink to add. The finished picture. The final piece in this series is a poppy meadow. I overprint with varied reds. I'm peeling away the textured papers after running them through the press face down. For the foreground, I use a brush to paint larger flowers, so there's a sense of perspective. Finally, I do the trees, which of course need to be in leaf. Finally, a few grasses, and then I'm done. Thanks for watching.